Once upon a time, an old sage sat beneath the ancient banyan tree, his eyes half closed as if gazing upon lifetimes beyond this one. A group of seekers, weary from their endless struggles, gathered around him. They had come with a question burning in their hearts. How do we break free from karma's relentless grip? How do we stop living the same patterns repeatedly, only to suffer the same fate? The sage inhaled deeply, his breath merging with the evening breeze. Then he began his tale. The prisoner of his own making. Once in a land forgotten by time, there was a man named Vikram. Vikram was a merchant, a father, and a husband. But above all, he was a man bound by his own fate. Every venture he started would eventually crumble. Every relationship, no matter how promising, ended in disappointment. It was as if life itself was conspiring against him. One day, desperate for answers, he sought the guidance of a hermit who lived in the mountains. The hermit, a man of few words, simply smiled and handed Vikram a mirror. "Look," he said. Vikram stared into the mirror, his gaze deep and contemplative. As his reflection shifted, something felt off. The image before him was no longer the man he had become, but a younger version, a version he once knew all too well. He watched silently as his past self made the same mistakes, succumbing to greed instead of generosity, allowing anger to cloud his judgment, and turning a blind eye to the quiet wisdom his soul had always whispered. It was as if the past had come alive again, urging him to break free from the cycle he had long been trapped in. "Do you see?" the hermit asked. Vikram's eyes welled with tears. He recognized the truth. His suffering was not an external curse, but a cycle. His thoughts, actions, and choices had shaped his reality. He had been walking in circles, mistaking it for a path. The hermit placed a hand on his shoulder. "Karma is not your enemy. It is your teacher. But until you learn, the lessons will keep repeating." Recognizing the patterns of karma, the sage's story hung in the air like a sacred mantra. The seekers remained silent, letting the weight of the words settle into their souls. "So how do we break free?" one of them finally asked. The sage opened his eyes, filled with the depth of 1,000 lifetimes. "First, recognize the pattern. Dig deeper if life presents you with the same pain, failures, and conflicts. What are you thinking? What do you believe? What are you choosing? There's an old saying, if you keep doing what you've been doing, you'll keep getting what you've been getting. The faces and circumstances may change, but the energy, the lesson, remains constant until you acknowledge it, until you change it." The practice of awareness. To awaken from karma's grip, the sage continued, you must first awaken to yourself. Watch your breath. Start small. Observe the natural rhythm of your breath without controlling it. Let it flow. Observe your body. Notice sensations without any judgment, whether it's warmth, coolness, fatigue, or restlessness. Just observe without labeling them as good or bad. Listen to the world. Hear the sounds around you, but do not label them. Let them pass like clouds in the sky. Observe the mind. This is the hardest step. Thoughts will come and go, pulling you into their stories. But don't pursue them. Just watch. As you practice this, something miraculous happens. You begin to realize that you are not the body. You are not the mind. You are the witness behind it all. Breaking the chains of karma. Once you develop awareness, you gain the remarkable power to choose differently. You no longer react blindly to life. You see the pattern. You recognize the lesson. Instead of repeating the same choices, you shift. If anger arises, you choose patience. If fear grips you, you choose courage. If life presents suffering, you seek understanding instead of resistance. This is how karma loses its grip. Not because it vanishes, but because you have outgrown the lesson. Like a student who has mastered the subject, you no longer need to retake the same exam. Awakening beyond illusion. The sage looked upon his seekers with kindness. Once you stop identifying with the storm, you realize you are the sky. The storm comes and goes, but you remain. That is your true nature. Beyond karma, beyond duality, beyond the illusions of this world. The seekers bowed, understanding now that karma was not their prison, but their path to freedom. As the sun's final rays vanished behind the horizon, The sage closed his eyes again, merging into the vast, boundless silence from which all things emerge. Visit nycfitliving.com to begin your journey toward a deeper understanding and cultivate a life of genuine happiness and well-being through fitness, mindfulness, and stress management.